And I'm just going to kick us right off this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Maybe evening. I'm not looking at the list. Anyway, hello. I'm Kelly Murray. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at the Consortium for Service Innovation. The entire Consortium for Service Innovation staff is here on the phone with us today, including Matt and Sarah and Jennifer and Jill. Uh, Thanks for joining us. The consortium is a not-for-profit think tank made up of about 70 member companies, and together we're the caretakers of the KCS methodology, along with other models that are focused on reimagining the way that we work together. We have done a lot this year, especially around automation and AI and knowledge management, all of the hot button words. You can find all kinds of resources on those topics on serviceinnovation.org, including the recording and the recap of this week's year in review call. So we'll drop a link to that in the chat. Matt did a great job on Tuesday talking about all the things that happened this year. So if you need to catch up on that, that's available. And one thing to keep on your radar is the annual summit in March. We'll be together in person in Atlanta. That's March 25th through 27th. We'll be exploring the convergence between knowledge and people and AI. Registration is open. We hope to see you there. If you have dollars you need to spend before the end of the year, registration is a great way to do that. But today, I'm so pleased to introduce the team at Ping Identity, including Larry Yang, Sue Wong, and Monique Cadena. They're going to tell us the story of a year's worth of KCS at Ping, the things that they have learned and discovered along their journey. And we are anticipating time for questions and answers at the end. So in the meantime, please feel free to put any questions in the chat. We are recording this call. You'll receive an email with the recording in a day or two. And with that, take it away, Larry and team.
Thank you, Kelly. Welcome, everybody. Before we start, let me take a moment to say thank you to the consortium for letting us come and share our story today. My name's Larry Yang. I'm responsible for our KCS program, and co-presenting with me today is Sue Wong, who's responsible for our KCS coaching program here at Ping. Feel free to add questions to the chat during the presentation, but as Kelly mentioned, we will take some questions, time permitting, at the end of the session as well. All right. First, a little bit about us. Ping Identity was founded in 2002, and we're headquartered in Denver, Colorado. We are a leading provider of identity and access management solutions designed to secure and streamline digital interactions. Our platform enables organizations to manage and protect user identities across a wide range of applications, systems, and devices. Ping Identity's offerings include single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, directory services, and API security, ensuring seamless and secure access for employees, customers, and partners. Trusted by enterprises globally, we help businesses enhance security, improve user experiences, and comply with regulatory requirements, enabling secure digital transformation. Ping is in over half the Fortune 100 companies. We've been a recognized leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for 8 years, and we were recently named a leader in the Forrester Wave for CIAM solutions in Q4. You'll find Ping in the top US and UK retail banks, healthcare, information, US retails, and manufacturing sectors. Now let's take a dive into our KCS journey. So our journey toward implementing KCS officially culminated in a global launch in June of 2023, though it began much earlier in early 2022. During that time, we collaborated with the consortium to gain expertise in KCS v6 practices, equipping us to design a KCS solution grounded in industry best practices. At the outset, our support organization was managing 16 products and SaaS services, handling an average monthly case volume of approximately 1,400 cases. Our knowledge library consisted of around 2,100 articles, but the process of creating and maintaining these articles was ad hoc. Geographically, our globally distributed team spans 3 regions, ensuring comprehensive follow-the-sun support coverage. And notably, we took an unconventional approach by launching our intelligent swarming in June of 2022, a year ahead of our KCS implementation. It's also worth noting that this wasn't our first attempt at adopting KCS, making this milestone even more significant. So let's take a look at how we've adopted some of those core concepts into our framework. Let me start by giving a high-level overview of the tools that we have in our environment here at Ping. We use Salesforce as our platform for case management, knowledge base, and community. For search, we rely on Coveo to provide a unified experience both to internal and external users. Our internal implementation is tailored for support engineers, offering a richer set of content compared to the external experience. This year, we also enhanced our capabilities by adding Coveo's Gen AI feature for both our internal and our external experiences. Before diving into the specifics of our implementation, it's really important to note that there isn't a single right way to implement KCS. Every organization is unique, and as a result, KCS implementations can vary in their look and their feel. However, they should all adhere to a core framework rooted in the fundamental KCS concepts. And remember, you don't need these specific platforms to achieve success with KCS. And lastly, as you see on the right, we use Google Analytics to track self-service demand and measure the success of interactions with our end users. All right, this is one of our favorite slides and one of the ones that we recommend our engineers use as a cheat sheet, as it provides an overview of the case lifecycle with KCS and swarming working together at Ping. So let's have a quick walkthrough. When a new issue is received, our engineers search early and often. If they identify a knowledge base article that resolves the problem, they'll reuse it, attach it to the case, and share it with the customer. If the article requires an update, engineers are trained to flag it. They can either flag the article for review if they lack the necessary permissions to edit, or they can update it themselves if they have the appropriate access. For new issues requiring assistance, intelligent swarming comes into play. The engineer initiates a swarm where they can be directed to an existing KB article that can be reused or improved. And if the issue is entirely new, the engineer resolves the case and captures a new knowledge base article for future reference. Our system streamlines this process with automated quick article functionality that maps contents from the case object directly into the draft knowledge article. When a new article is created, it's also automatically attached to the case for the engineer. The final step in the case lifecycle is closing the case, ensuring all information is captured and shared effectively. Now, let me turn it over to Sue, who's going to take you through some of the custom KCS coaching features that we built into Salesforce.
Thanks, Larry. So one of the areas that we didn't have in our previous KCS attempt implementations was a dedicated KCS coaching program. And as one very smart consortium member was quoted recently saying, if you don't have coaching, then you don't have a KCS program. So this is our KCS dashboard. In an effort to make KCS coaching as seamless as possible for KCS coaches, we created a custom KCS dashboard for coaches as well as for managers. This way, managers can see the exact same things that KCS coaches can see and quickly see where help or assistance is needed. So KCS coaches and managers don't have to run to create their own reports to find the information that they actually need. So let me go over the components of the KCS dashboard here at Ping. At the bottom left-hand corner is the Ready for CSC component. So this component allows KCS coaches and managers to see the net new created articles of individuals without a CSC completed. If viewing as a KCS coach, the Ready for CSC component only shows their coachees. If viewing as a manager, the Ready for CSC component only shows net new articles without CSCs of that particular manager. When the CSC is completed or dismissed, the new article will disappear from the Ready for CSC component. Next is the pending flags component. KCS coaches and managers can see non-closed flags created by their direct coachees or team members respectively in this component. When a flag is created, the flag automatically gets assigned to the person's KCS coach and subsequently shows up on that KCS coach's KCS dashboard. Once the flag is closed, the flag will disappear from the pending flags component. On the top portion of the KCS dashboard, KCS coaches are able to review closed cases for link accuracy. So after selecting the link accuracy link, KCS coaches will get a new pop-up window that shows all of the closed cases that can be reviewed for link accuracy. On the main component, KCS coaches can also register or record their coaching sessions in Salesforce. They record the transaction by confirming the name of the coachee, the date, the duration, as well as the main components of what happened during those coaching sessions, such as wins or improvement opportunities. Please note that KCS coaches do not record coaching sessions in terms of a visual recording. And so if a new article does not have a content standard checklist or a CSC completed, a KCS coach can complete one. On the left-hand side of the article, there is a CSC questions component. After selecting the next button, the component will expand to review the full list. After completing the CSC, it could look something like this. The thing that I did want to point out is the author's proficiency. At Ping, we do not have a number system for CSCs. Individuals should not be focused on trying to obtain a certain number or grade, and we avoid focusing on a number CSC, on a number. So CSCs completed are not grades on knowledge workers and are not scores on the quality of the article. CSCs are only completed on version 1 of new articles because a CSC is a coaching tool with the intent of assessing where an author is in their ability to create content against the standard out of the gate. So the CSC coaching tool helps coaches identify improvement opportunities for the author's growth. So as a result, what we focus on are indicators: masterful and deliberate, proficient and effective, demonstrates understanding and application, and shows potential and has room for growth. So I'm going to give the mic back to Larry.
Thank you, Sue. All right. So when we originally designed our role framework, we envisioned 3 roles with increasing levels of responsibility and capability. However, we encountered a technical limitation that prevented us from enforcing the intended functionality for the candidate role, specifically the ability for candidates to fix their own articles. So upon revisiting our model, we realized that the only functional difference between a candidate and a contributor was that a candidate was limited to fixing their own articles, while contributors could edit any internal article. This led us to ask, why not trust and empower our engineers by eliminating the candidate role altogether? Otherwise, we'd end up with 2 roles offering nearly identical functionality. Guided by the principle of trust, we decided to simplify the framework by removing the candidate role. We updated the goals and role progression, now highlighted in that bold teal color, to reflect this change. While this was not a decision we made lightly, it aligned with our commitment to empower our team and streamline the process. At the end of the day, what made it an easy decision to move to a licensing model based on trust and empowerment was the benefits that the team would experience. With this model, our support engineers are able to fix internal articles faster, resulting in less flags that would need to be processed, and also allowing for faster response to the other flags. It empowers our support engineers to own the internal knowledge base, also allows for a faster progression path to the publisher role, and ultimately leads to improved external publishing. Last, but certainly not least, a better support engineer experience. So let's take a moment to talk about the support demand curve. The number one question people often ask is, why don't we just hire a dedicated knowledge base or publishing team who can write, edit, and publish the articles for us? So to answer that, I'm going to go through an illustration that shows the benefits of KCS versus that model. This is what's referred to as the support demand curve. When companies perform a study to show the anticipated demand of a particular issue or question, they often will produce the same or similar curve. 2 companies that have done this and provided their study information to the consortium are HP and Dell. The curve represents the timeline within 30 days, and the demand or the folders represent the support cases received within that timeline. You will notice that the majority of the support cases are opened at the beginning of the curve. So now let's take a look at the support demand curve with the traditional dedicated publishing model. Let's even pretend we have a hybrid model where engineers create draft articles and send them to the publishing team for finishing and publishing. In this scenario, our first request is received by an employee who then submits a draft article into the publishing team queue. During this time, the next employee receives a request, we'll call it case Y on the diagram, that's similar to the first. The employee creates a duplicate article and submits it to the queue as well. Then the next request, now case Z on the diagram, comes in, and you can see the redundancy and reinventing of the wheel right away. By the time the publishing team reviews the article, removes the duplicates, publishes the article, it's way at the end of the demand curve. It's not timely, and there's a lot of rework, and it's not a good return on your investment. On top of that, the publishers don't have customer context, so it can get tricky, and the context can be changed, which is why the best people to create, maintain, and publish the knowledge is those who use it and experience it. In this example, the article is published within the curve, but consortium member companies have reported that the curve can be anywhere up to 2 years with over 2,000 articles in the backlog. And that particular company had a team of 8 dedicated publishers. You can imagine not only is there lots of duplication and lost effort, but the content is probably greatly outdated by the time it's published. So now let's take a look at that same example in a KCS model. The idea is really simple. The first case comes in, and once a solution is identified, the article is published even before closing the case and available to be referenced and found when the next issue or request comes in, or better yet, available to customers via self-service. You'll notice we don't have a technical validation step in our KB publishing process. The reason isn't that we don't care about article quality. Similar to what we just mentioned about trust, we trust that the technical validation has been completed as part of the solutioning in the support case upstream in the process. Our model allows us to meet the demand by having a solution published in the shortest possible time. Here's a mock-up of a case and its corresponding article. One of the key features that enables our engineers to efficiently create knowledge articles is the quick article functionality. This tool allows engineers to quickly generate a draft knowledge base article directly from the case. And when designing our solution, we intentionally align the metadata between cases and knowledge articles. This means that as long as our support engineers keep their cases up to date, a standard practice, they can generate a complete draft of a knowledge base article with just a few clicks before closing the case. This significantly reduces the time required to create a draft, which streamlines the article creation process. But like any project, our KCS implementation came with its own set of challenges. As mentioned earlier, we quickly had to pivot from our original 3-role framework to a 2-role structure for KCS roles. In Q4 2023, Ping Identity merged with ForgeRock, which forced us to delay our How Do You Lead KCS environment training. This delay impacted adoption, as teams occasionally defaulted to firefighting cases instead of adhering to KCS best practices. We also faced some challenges with inconsistent case management practices leading to variability in adoption and occasional capture loss during swarming. Now, we tackled this by collaborating with leadership and engaging KCS coaches to provide targeted support and guidance. Another issue was with organizational change management, or OCM, and some of our engineers struggling to see how their contributions added value to the KCS program. To address this, we developed a custom Salesforce dashboard that clearly visualizes the impact of their direct contributions on the program. So now that we've shared our challenges, let's take a look at some of the results that we've seen after 12 months. Let's start off with our knowledge base. To give you some background, our knowledge base articles are structured with 3 general permission categories: internal, customer partner, which requires authentication, and fully available to our public. In the 12 months since going live with KCS, we've grown our knowledge base by 38%, adding over 800 new solutions to our support staff, customers, and prospects. And as I mentioned earlier, we've added over 800 new knowledge base articles in the past year, but KCS isn't just about creating new content. Over that same period, our existing articles have been updated over 888 times, and we'll dive into what drives that in a bit. From the onset, we emphasized the critical role of coaching in KCS adoption and success. Our engineers and coaches have been hard at work conducting 1,265 coaching sessions to support and refine our KCS practices. On the content quality front, the team has excelled, achieving an average CSE rating of masterful and deliberate, which is our highest rating. When it comes to case resolution, the impact of KCS is clear. Cases leveraging KCS are closing 2.45 days faster than those that don't, and customer satisfaction for KCS-driven cases has increased by 11.9%. Lastly, with the launch of KCS, we've observed a 2.5 decrease in overall swarm activity, reflecting improved efficiency and knowledge reuse. Here's a monthly breakdown of case resolution times with and without attachments, highlighting that 2.45-day faster resolution for cases that do have attachments. And to clarify, when I say cases with attachments, it does also include not only the reuse of existing knowledge base articles, but also cases involving articles updates and creation of new articles. So for those unfamiliar with KCS, KCS is a double loop process. And as our program matures, the evolve loop process focuses on content health, KDA activities for KCS problem-driven management, that impact our shift left strategy. So shifting left, what is it? The goal of shifting left is to shift solutions left, enhancing customer value while reducing time, cost, and customer effort. Traditionally, service organizations have focused primarily on managing the cost of incoming cases. However, the scope of customer engagement has expanded far beyond case management. In environments where KCS is practiced, the focus shifts to value created for organizations across the entirety of customer demand, not just through the assisted support channels. At Ping, we've developed a robust set of digital support offerings. As our KCS program matures, we're making progress in areas like reactive self-service and self-service in product. Specifically, we're expanding knowledge domain analysis activities with our SMEs and developing a KCS-driven problem management program. This initiative, in collaboration with our product managers, aims to influence product improvements and enhance the overall experience for our customers. So let's get back to how do we measure success here at Ping, which is based off of the success by channel measures publication from the consortium. So why is this important? There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that customers are happier when they find answers without opening a case, getting a solution in the community or self-serving in our knowledge base. But how do we know that? Now we can. We now have a self-service dashboard that allows us to measure the number of successful interactions by channel. Measuring success with self-service becomes very complex very quickly. Because of the variables involved, the only meaningful baseline is against your own performance. In our case, we knew that we could use the views total for each segment from Google Analytics, which represents the total demand. So that's what the number is in the first yellow box for community and knowledge base articles. Then for the agent and assist engagements, we're using the total number of cases. Our most challenging metrics to obtain was our number of successful engagements, because we can't simply just take the number of views and assume that it was a successful event. So what goes into getting this data? For the purpose of the time, we won't get into the weeds for all the different use cases. However, at a high level, we defined out different successful and unsuccessful use cases and added Google Analytic tags that allowed us to be able to track these use cases. This allowed us to then categorize each of these interactions as either successful, undetermined, or unsuccessful events based on that success criteria. And here's a monthly breakdown of our success by channel from 2023 through Q3 this year. The teal bar represents our successful community posts. The red bar represents our knowledge base articles, and the light green bar represents our case volume. To note, our self-service success for the knowledge base channel is up over 100% since we launched KCS. We've also observed a shift in our case growth pattern. Instead of having exponential growth, case volume is now trending linearly, underscoring the positive impact of KCS on our shift left strategy. All right, so let's take a look at what's next for our program. Now that we're using KCS as a how we work, we have the data we need to drive problem management. One of our goals of problem management is to align multiple teams by facilitating the conversations that traditionally don't happen. This includes collaboration between support, SMEs functioning as knowledge domain experts, and product management teams, to name a few. With KCS-driven problem management, these teams leverage data from the KCS program to identify and prioritize key volume drivers, presenting them to product and other teams for action and improvement. We're in the early stages of running sprints for KCS-driven problem management so we can drive improvements to our products and services. And above here, this is how we're running those sprints. In addition, as we look ahead into 2025, here are some of the new features we're looking to explore, which include maturing Gen AI, process flows, conversation summaries, service replies, and intelligent case classification as well. And we wanted to wrap up and share some of our critical success lessons. First, it should be treated as a strategic program, one heavily supported by organizational change management. It requires care and feeding to keep moving the program. Second, aligning with KCS best practices. Third, don't take any shortcuts. You need to do all 8 practices in the methodology. Fourth, case management best practices. Fifth, case management integration. Sixth, the publishing licensing model. This is going to determine privileges on how to earn them, who can edit and who can publish. A coaching program to embed those practices into the DNA of the workers. And lastly, eighth, you need dedicated resources to own and manage the KCS program, on average 3 to 4. They take care of the program, continuous improvement, as well as the training, process, coaches, which act as change agents or SMEs, and they also take care of the technology requirements and work with your technical resources for tooling. For more information on the roles, it's documented in the KCS V6 Adoption and Transformation Guide. And with that, thank you everybody for the time today. And time permitting, Kelly, we can certainly open it up for any questions.
Thank you so much. Will you talk a little bit about the structure of your KCS program team, those at Ping, those 3 or 4 people that are keeping the trains on time?
Absolutely. There's 3 of us. 2 of us are on this call, as I mentioned earlier. Sue is responsible for our coaching program here at Ping. And not on the call today is Adam Hansen. Adam Hansen is driving the KCS driven problem management program. And myself, I lead our team here and am also responsible for a lot of those technology improvements that we were looking at. And we work very collectively as a unit and are able to support each other very, very easily. So, but that's a little bit about how we're aligned currently.
And what is there overlap between the KCS program management and the intelligent swarming program management?
Oh, yes. And we also have another team member that Daniel, who also is responsible for our intelligent swarming program. And so we are all part of the KCS and intelligent swarming program together.
And remind me where you sit in the organization.
So within Ping, we sit within what's called the Center of Excellence. And so we have dotted lines into, for example, like the support organization and other groups.
It sounds like from a dotted line perspective, it sounds like that is working well in terms of it sounds like there's lots of relationships that you have with lots of different parts of the organization in terms of the problem management piece that you do and all of those other tentacles.
Absolutely. We work very closely, obviously, with the support organization because it is so foundational. But as we are driving with the KCS driven problem management, a lot of those conversations will extend outside of support well into product, other teams like documentation. It really depends on what we find with the analysis. But wherever those improvements are identified, that's where it takes us.
Do you have any advice about how people might build those relationships?
That is a wonderful question. I think the one thing, and this is evident even with the KCS program, right? You can't just drop it down with a hammer. We have to be respectful of the different responsibilities that everyone has. But the other piece of it is that has always served us well is being data driven, being able to present data and helping them understand some of the challenges that the teams are facing. And truth be told, it's not a difficult conversation.
Mm.
A lot of times, being able to build that case really helps with data to help drive the conversation along.
Tell me maybe a little bit about, I know this is not the first time Ping has attempted a KCS implementation or rather maybe implemented KCS. Were there things about the way you approached this past year that were different from previous attempts? How do you how do you talk about this
Great
within
question.
Ping?
Great question. So yeah, we had some previous attempts of launching KCS, and I would say, one of the larger differences this time around um, was the investment that we made into the tooling to really make it part of, as you saw with our workflow, part of the life cycle of how we do support here. So that it isn't perceived as, oh, I have to now go do KCS work separate after my support cases. That was one difference, and I will say the other huge difference is coaching. Having
Mm,
invested into coaching, having Sue on the team leading those coaches really makes a tremendous difference in the adoption. Because one lesson certainly learned is I think folks are well aware you can't just do one training and hope things are going to change overnight, right? So having that coaching and constant regular check-in to make sure that those practices are really getting ingrained into the engineer's DNA was really a big difference this time around. Sue or Monique, I don't know if y'all have anything else you want to add to that. Okay.
we have been thinking a lot about the captured guidance or lack thereof around coaching from the consortium's perspective. And I think we have a lot of opportunity going into this next year to think about how we will frame and provide some guidance around coaching. It feels to me like there's an opportunity to really make clear that the idea of that coaching program is exactly sort of what you've described, which is a lot of people go to a training and then sort of be like, well, I'm pretty sure I can outlast whatever this change nonsense is, right? I can kind of like, that was interesting, but not relevant to what I do every day. And to have a coach show up and then say, great, how are you doing with this new process? Helps people understand that it's for real. It's not a thing that they can sort of outlast, and that they need to, it is a way of encouraging people down the path of the behavior that we're looking for because of all these benefits that we get from it. So I'm looking in the chat to see if there's other questions.
Can we have Rum clarify, comment there? I'm not sure if there's a question with that, or we need to clarify something.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, just kind of more sorry I didn't finish my thing, my thought, I guess. We're just kind of wondering, yeah, how the name, when I see the name Ping Identity, but that's just how does it tie into really more focus on knowledge management KCS? Because, um, I was thinking more about identity access management, security, those type of thing. When I see the Ping Identity, it just kind of
Yes, so Ping Identity is very much what you said, identity access management. So that is the name of our company. It's not the name of our KM program, our KCS program. But I think because we are in identity and access management, it is a very, you saw the time on the cases, right? It's a very complex B2B business model, which I really think is great evidence of how KCS works, right? It really was created to support the ever-changing, high complex nature of technical issues. And so having that implemented at Ping Identity is just proof that it can work anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, actually. Yeah, that's something I'm looking at right now to help with our organization. I mean, trying to establish case knowledge management and also sort of almost trying to revamp our identity access management program again. So I mean, it's good to know. Yeah, I'll take a look at your organization, your company stuff. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's always good to have kind of sort of a two-in-one package thing.
Will asks, how are you managing / planning to manage the time demands on KDEs as you stand up that portion of the program?
So we've actually had, so for our KDEs, we've been very, very fortunate in that this is an initiative that they have true and near and dear to their heart because they have been driving supportability enhancements, and this is really a catalyst to help them in that. So it really hasn't been a huge, from a time perspective, like we're not asking for, a lot of time that they already aren't spending in terms of some of the analyses that they are doing, but that what this does do is helps them to provide another layer of data that they didn't previously have. Does that help answer your question, Will?
For the most part, yes. One of the challenges we're running to, of course, is we're an MSP. And one of the challenges we run into on a regular basis, of course, is engineering department siloing. And of course, everybody's got, their individual section knowledge in either their Git repository or their individual SharePoint shares. And right now we're working on trying to migrate at least the elements that don't need to be behind some type of security into our general knowledge base. And there's the time demand side of it, of course, but there's also the interaction between our service desk, which functions at an L3 level more than most service desks, and the engineering teams because of the attempts to shift left certain engineering elements. So it may be that our use case doesn't entirely align with yours. Although I think there's probably, if we look, there'd probably be some overlap, but the big difficulty we're going to be facing there as we're moving towards that is probably going to be the review of that information as it comes into the knowledge base, making sure that certain secure elements of processes don't get into the knowledge base that shouldn't be, that type of thing, at least as the initial steps. But I was looking at it more from the perspective of, assessing the more technical articles that require a KDE to be able to, put their stamp of approval on the article, keeping it in the knowledge base without major edits, that type of thing. That's more what I'm looking at.
Okay. So to answer that part of your question, I think that's where swarming comes into play and trusting that in the case, right, for the validation. So when our engineers, for example, are, let's say it's a new issue, they haven't come across it before, they need some help, what they'll do is swarm. And that's where our subject matter experts are going to come in typically to come assist with the particular issue, right? So when that occurs, once we get the solution identified, that will go through the normal process of creating a knowledge base article through the output of that case, right? And so when the knowledge article is created via that case, it doesn't require like another set of technical validation. That's where we can trust that the case got created, or excuse me, the case got resolved, and through the case validation, that inherits over to the knowledge base article as well and allows it to be published.
So you're offloading the work to the intelligent swarming process and clearing up more time for the KDEs to focus on things that are particularly important.
Swarming allows the solutioning to occur with the subject matter expert, right? And then that pushes back down through the flow to the support case. And then we leverage that consistent support case to flow the information into the knowledge article.
That makes a lot of sense. And it gets rid of a lot of the bottleneck that I'm worried about creating. So intelligent swarming is something we've looked at. We have an informal variant of it already. Formalizing it is something that we're kicking around right now. I haven't taken the course yet. My manager has, and we're looking to dig into that a little bit more. It rather suits a lot of our processes that we already have in place. So we're thinking about it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and something to consider too, Will, the effects of swarming that you may see when your KDEs start to do swarming with KCS, that carves out that additional time that you're originally asking about, like how do people have extra time to do these things, right? Because that will build out some of those additional efficiencies so that the KDEs aren't getting hammered as hard for help with individual issues as well.
I saw that's actually a good observation. Thank you. I'll get out of everybody's way now. Thanks.
Sure, you bet. Appreciate the question.
I see John has a question in the chat. I don't know, John, if you're able to come off mute and tell us a little bit more about that. For those of us who are KCS V6 certified, but who have not yet had the opportunity to lead a knowledge base rollout, what types of jobs should we be targeting? Are you looking for like what a KCS program manager role might be called? Maybe John is not able to come off mute. Oh, he can't. Okay. Are folks seeing jobs in the marketplace with KCS in the title, or at least in the job description? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Any
I
thoughts
can just
about that?
share, Kelly, that
Yeah.
you know, when we're going through our hiring process, especially working with our recruiting team, we get a lot when we put out our job rec. There's a lot that comes back, and there's a lot that isn't relevant, I will say. But that being said, our recruiting team was excellent in finding the folks with true knowledge-centered service support, experience that relates to what we're talking about. And so I will say that folks are definitely out there. Just gotta kind of spend some time wading through a lot of the applicants that we received.
Great. There's some,
and that's how we ended up with, for example, Sue and Adam. So very fortunate.
and some feedback, I think, in the chat also around that. Thanks, everybody. Other questions or observations or comments? Well, thank you very much, Ping team, for your story. It is so wonderful to hear when it's working well, and it's wonderful to hear, when we come across some hiccups. But just delightful to get the update. And thanks for your time and your thoughts in the questions after. And have a great rest of your day and your week and your year, everybody. We will see you in 2025. Thanks very much. Take good care. Bye-bye.